And of course, we're working with water, so I don't know what we want out there.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, Randy. Okay. Moving
How about
on.
the public? I'd like to ask two questions. There's two or three of us been here for a long time. If you were to make address it to Pete, because that's always been the rules. We've been through this float at least 3 times since I've been here. Or this is at least the 3rd time since I've been here, maybe 4th. Why did it fail before? And a second question, I think might even be related to the same thing. Why, and we've hired people ever since going back to 1970. Why can't we hire people? Anybody can answer this for me, because we evidently failed in doing these before because we were going to re-staff and we were going to have employees, I think, at least 3 years ago. And before that, it was 2 years ago, a plus, that we were going to hire new people and build up people and have at least a couple of 2-2s and things of that nature. So just a couple of questions as to why this has not happened.
Mr. President?
So you want to comment? You know the bars better than anybody.
Well, as far as the bar, I mean, I don't know why, I can't answer why, what staffing we need and all that. But as far as the barge goes, the original barge failed, not the one that we have now, the original one did. And what the design was we took a barge that gave us storage space for the piping and whatnot, so instead of having a long pipe all the way down that hill, we had cut it into sections. And that gave us a storage area that we can just add and remove sections as needed. That part was fine. The part that was attached to the rear of that boat, which actually had our pumps on it, failed. And you could imagine, you got a patio boat. Imagine if your patio boat had steel pontoons instead of aluminum, and it sat in the lake for 35 years. Eventually it's going to rust out and sink. And that's what happened. When it sank, it started to bring our big barge down with it, so everything was pulled. Now the idea is to take the old failing piece that sunk, take the pumps and motors off, put it on our big barge. We got one unit that hopefully will not go nowhere.
Sound like you had two questions.
I do. I have a second question. I wanted to know why we can't hire people. I think
all I can do is give you experience on the rounds of hiring that we've done since I've been here. I mean, I've seen a long history of employee changeover, but we have been, with advertising within our salary range, we have been unable to attract existing certified operators, certified at the level that we need them. I don't know specifically whether it's the combination of pay and benefits, whether it's location, whether it's just supply and demand with operators, okay, because the industry was predicting a shortage of 10,000 across the country because of the retirement of baby boomers and not a lot of new people coming in and higher state requirements and governments and others that were strapped for money and not paying as much, and obviously not able to fund the benefits that they once funded that drove them crazy and drove them broke, you know. So it's been, we just didn't get the applicant pool. We had a number of people. We had some people with some experience, but not certified people. Those that were certified were not qualified. So it's just been tough, and that was the same with the most recent round. It's when we were looking for the operations manager, our competition was at or over $100,000 a year, and that's how we were unable to really pull it together. I don't know, you know, I mean, I can't tell you that all we got to do is just up our pay and everything's great. I'm not saying that at all. But it's just, could be a number of factors.
I'd like to, I asked those two questions as a lead-in, as an old business consultant, and I was pretty damn good, pretty successful. I've done pretty well. We don't have any leadership. It's the same people, Randy, you're talking about, you've been involved in them. It's the same people doing it again, except for the top level. We've hired people, we've hired people, we've had good people, we've lost good people. Same reason. It's not because of where we're at. It's because of our leadership. And that was my question, was the leadership.
That wasn't your question.
I mean, that was
Before
my
you drove
answer.
it.
Excuse me, that was my answer.
Well, let's clarify that. That was not your question. Your question was about the barge. and
No,
why can't we hire
it was
people.
about, the right answer was the leadership.
Well, that's an opinion. Thank you. Okay, moving on.
I have a question. Regarding the outside MID POU report, what criteria was used to modify that traditional report that MID required and specifically outlined in the water agreement?
Sat down and looked at the parcel map and the district infrastructure map that shows which parcels are receiving service, that was overlaid on top of the POU boundary map. And there are parcels that are clearly outside of the place of use receiving service, that have been receiving service, that were not on the list.
But that doesn't answer my question of why the traditional outside MID POU report required by Merced Irrigation and used for over 16 years was modified.
Because we are required to maintain compliance with the permit. And the permit requires that any properties outside the place of use be provided well water. So in order for us to plan and make sure that we're pumping enough well water and providing enough well water to cover that use, we have to know what all of those parcels are consuming.
Right, but you said that the individuals didn't matter anymore. You said individual property use did not.
Individual consumption
Doesn't matter.
It's not a matter of it not mattering. It's a matter of it's not something that we are regulating and reviewing in this meeting, the individual consumption by property.
No, but it has been done that way
Hold
for
on,
16
let me
years.
clarify this. I think Lou's question is, individual consumption does matter because it adds to the total, which is what you're reporting. So individual consumption does matter when you take, I'm just going to round the numbers, not looking at the report, but if there's 10 customers, we're going to add up the usage of those 10 customers.
I understand that.
So that's where the total comes from of what the usage was.
I understand
And
that.
so therefore, I think what Pete is saying here is, the original report, you used the term 16 years that was used. Those customers have been on the report for 16 years. Reviewed the maps and said, okay, there's X number of parcels, and I'm not going to say what number because I don't know. That looks like it's out of the subdivision. I'm going to say outside place of use that maybe should have been on this report. He is now incorporating those numbers into the report to make sure we are thoroughly in compliance.
No, you're still missing my point.
Okay.
Why are the individual property consumptions no longer identified?
I don't see what that's, if it's reported, why does everybody in the public need to know somebody else's consumption?
Well, I mean, if you see that the elementary school routinely goes through X number of acre feet, you go, okay, that's typical. And then you see some of the directors have brought this up in the past at meetings. Whoa, this ranch never uses any water and now they got 100 units. You wouldn't be able to do that. You wouldn't be able to question why did this property here suddenly triple its use in water if there's no individual report.
I agree with you. We wouldn't know that, but that's the same as somebody's house out here.
No, it's not the same.
Let me finish. Don't interrupt me. Just like my house, when we had it here on a weekend, I was on a weekend basis, I got a leak. I didn't know I had a leak. The water district didn't know I had a leak until I got my bill. So yeah, if we looked at everybody's bills to say high and lows, I mean, I don't think that's our responsibility as a board. But I see what you're saying. I mean, you can say high and lows. I'm sure if Cindy sees somebody's bill like mine at that point in time, she'd say, oh my gosh, he usually uses one con, and now I use, I think, 150 one month because a water line broke at my house.
So am I to assume by this that MID was consulted with this also?
Yes.
Okay, good, because they're the ones that required it and they've approved of this new formulation that you're going to use.
At this point, I would say,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and until we get
That's
this,
interesting.
get
That's
this
interesting.
resolved.
That you're working together to keep information away from the public that you're basically.
Oh, you're
No.
it's apples and oranges.
No, it isn't. No, it's all oranges.
No. It is 100%. Planning and control
That's wrong.
is terrible here.
Yep.
That's what the point I was making.
If the board wants to see a report of individual customer consumption outside the place of use, I would offer to provide the individual consumption of every customer within inside the place of use.
No, that's not what was set up by MID.
The
See, he writes his own rules. It's just unbelievable.
the rule is what's in the agreement. Okay, and that when we are in compliance with what is in the agreement.
And this is a new agreement.
No, it's the same agreement. It requires that we report the consumption and the amount of production.
Well, you know, it wasn't too long ago you said you didn't even know you had to report it.
Okay, moving on.
Your learning curve seems to be going up.
Moving on, gentlemen, thank you. All right, and the next item on the discussion items, report.
I wonder what board dishonesty is next. Hard act to follow Campa's digital map fix. Tried to reconfigure your service POU. Watch out, Mr. Wicks, more bills for you. Lake Don Pedro, CSD. Is there something in our water worse than LSD? Might explain no director diligence. Has some contaminant eaten common sense? Lake Don Pedro is my home, not too far from Yosemite's half dome. Drought-prone foothills east of LaGrange, where water district policies are insane. I know what they do is wrong. Try to open eyes with my dumbass songs. Should be embarrassed, but apparently not. I wonder what he'll do if he ever gets caught doing what he does oh so well. Most call it lying like hell. Most call it lying like hell. 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 Kind of sad when you think about it.